There's a specific feeling, and I think you know the one. You're not sad, exactly, you're not in pain, nothing might be wrong, but sometimes you might sit at the end of the day and there's this silence where something should be. Like a house with all the lights on and nobody home. People don't really talk about it because how do you explain to someone that you feel fine and completely hollow at the same time? But today we're going to try. The first thing to understand is that this emptiness isn't new. This idea has been circulating for generations. The ancient Greeks called it asada, a kind of spiritual apathy, a numbness to the soul. Medieval monks described it as a noonday demon, a despairing restlessness that made a person unable to stay still, and yet unable to find any meaning and any direction. In the 20th century, existentialists gave it a sharper name. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote that humans are condemned to be free, meaning there's no predetermined script for your life, no manufacturer's handbook, no built-in purpose, and that very freedom, that terrifying openness, can feel exactly like emptiness. Albert Camus pushed this further. He called the feeling absurd, the collision between our desperate hunger for meaning and the universe's complete silence in response. We want answers, we ache for them, but the universe just keeps spinning, the world keeps moving. But here's what's interesting. If philosophers across centuries, different cultures and contexts, keep returning to the same feeling, then maybe this emptiness isn't a malfunction. Maybe it's a feature of being human. And the question is, why do we feel it so much louder now? Something shifted. In the last 30 years or so, maybe even less, our daily life has changed in ways we barely had time to register. We built a world on infinite stimulation. At any second of the day, you can have food delivered, watch any film, read any opinion ever typed, talk to anyone, anywhere, even across the entire globe. You can buy almost anything. The friction of waiting, of boredom, has almost been engineered out of our existence. It sounds like progress. It looks like progress. But there's a philosopher named Byung-Chul, a Korean-German thinker who I think is quite important for understanding our current moment. He argues something quite unsettling, that we are living in what he calls the burnout society, not because we're oppressed by external forces, but because we've become our own oppressors. We optimize ourselves, we hustle, self-improve, and we perform. The relentless positivity of you can do anything, be anything, achieve anything doesn't liberate us. It exhausts us. Because there is no finish line. There's always another thing to become. Hahn writes, the achievement subject is free insofar as it can exploit itself voluntarily. We're so busy building our lives that we forget to live them. And when you're constantly performing on social media, at work, relationships, you eventually lose track of who you actually are underneath this performance. That gap between the person you perform and the person you are, that gap is where this emptiness lives. There's something else. For most of human history, people were embedded in structures of meaning. Some didn't voluntarily choose this, such as community and social structures, religion, extended family traditions, but these acted as a clear guide, a sort of role to play in your village, for example. You knew who you were because you knew where you belonged. And of course, there's a completely different understanding of how society works there. But that sort of structure is not really found in modern society. The philosopher Charles Taylor calls this a horizon of significance, a background framework that made certain things matter automatically. Didn't have to figure it out from scratch why your life had value. The value was baked in by the world around you. But modern life has dissolved a lot of that. Friedrich Nietzsche saw it coming in the 19th century. His famous declaration that God is dead is often misread as an atheist victory. It wasn't. It was a warning. He's saying that the central pillar of Western meaning has collapsed. And now everything built on top of that is also going to collapse. Your values, morality, the sense of life that matters. He called the danger that follows nihilism, the creeping belief that nothing means anything. And his question, the question he thought was most urgent in all of philosophy, was what do we replace this with? And we're still trying to answer that. In the meantime, a lot of us, we're filling the void with consumption, with content, with productivity, experiences we photograph rather than feel. We're reaching for the shape of meaning without any substance. There's another layer we also need to name, because underneath a lot of this emptiness, I think if you press it, really press on it, you find loneliness. Not necessarily the loneliness of being physically alone, but something deeper. The loneliness of feeling unseen, going through days, weeks without a meaningful conversation. Without a conversation that even goes below the surface, of wondering whether anyone, if anyone truly knew you, understood you, all the weird and unfiltered, uncertain parts, if anyone would actually stay. The philosopher Martin Buber made a distinction that I find heartbreaking in its accuracy. He said that two modes of relating to the world is I, it, and I, thou. In I, it, we treat everything and everyone as an object, a tool, something to be used, evaluated, optimized. This is how we shop, how we scroll, how we network. In I, thou, we encounter a person or a piece of art, nature, or even ourselves as something irreducible, something that can't fully be captured or categorized, a genuine meeting. He believed we can truly feel alive in the moments of the I-thou encounter. And here's the tragedy, most of our modern life is structured for the I-it. Think about it. Our shopping habits, how we even engage on social media with each other. We just see likes, followers, we just see numbers going up or numbers going down. Dating apps reduce people to profiles. You just swipe left, swipe right. Work reduces people to outputs. Social media, again, reducing even myself and yourself to metrics. We're swimming in connection, but we're starving for contact. There's no substance behind any of this. So what do we do with all of this? I want to be honest. I don't think there's a 5-step solution. Anyone selling you a solution, look at this morning guide and do this every day, that's selling something else. I do think there are directions. Viktor Frankl survived the Nazi concentration camps, and he went to write one of the most important books of the 20th century. It's called A Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote that the primary drive in human beings, it's not pleasure, it's not power, it's meaning. And crucially, he observed that meaning can be found even in suffering, even in the most stripped down, disastrous circumstances imaginable. His insight was simple and devastating. Meaning is not found, it's created, it's chosen. Not once, but constantly, in small acts, in attention, in commitment to something beyond yourself. Another philosopher, Simone Weil, wrote about attention as a kind of spiritual practice, the radical act of truly, fully paying attention to another person or experience, instead of performing for attention, or multitasking attention, but giving yourself to what is in front of you. Imagine how much more your relationships would develop if you actually gave yourself to your significant other, rather than treating them as a means to an end. I think this shift in perspective is where it starts for a lot of us. Not with a grand reinvention of yourself, but with small acts of presence. Putting the phone down, looking at a person and actually seeing them, hearing their opinions, even if you don't agree with them or you don't really like them as a person, but treating them with respect. Asking questions you actually want the answer to, sitting with the discomfort of silence, long enough to hear what's underneath it. The emptiness might be trying to tell you something. It's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're still searching. And something that searches is something that's alive. The feeling of emptiness is quite commonly a human experience. A lot of us feel it, and yet we treat it like a shameful secret. Even myself, I feel empty most, if not pretty much every day. Maybe the most radical thing we can do is just name it, to say, yeah, I feel and relate to that. And instead of going numb to what you're feeling, or even trying to perform your way out of something, just sit with it for a moment and be honest with yourself and basically reflect on what's actually happening in your life. Because that's going to be different from myself to you watching this video, and try to figure out what it's trying to say. And I can't tell you the answer to that. I can't give you an answer. That's literally my point. Stop looking for something to give you the answer. Sit with it and understand where your emptiness is actually coming from. The other day, I was in like a store, and I was speaking to how old? She was about 65, I think she said. And I was speaking to her about just society and how much the city had changed and what she thought of life. And she felt really bad for our generation, like pretty much anyone below 35, or even, well, to be fair, even 40s and younger. She was describing how much pressure is on all of us to live, and the cost of living, how expensive life is, even affording your basic groceries, and she was speaking about like saving up. Like, it's so hard to save up for your future. It's so hard to plant the seeds for your future. And I was describing, like, yeah, this pressure has made a lot a lot of people just feel empty. They don't feel anything. They're just like trying to optimize their day. I was telling her, like, I can't really relax. I can't really, sit down and do nothing because I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I need to produce more. I need to do more. And all this extra pressure is turning us into really, I don't know how to, it's like, I wouldn't say we're rude. It's more like we're just hollow. Like, if you don't like a person, for example, which is true, you can just, civilly end things, but you can just get them out of your life, never have to, and you can just replace them straight away with someone within 30 seconds. Let's say you had a relationship. Okay, you didn't like them. You're like, you know what? Then they don't meet these criteria. They don't tick these boxes, and then boom, they're gone within 10 seconds. With a click of a button, they're gone. And then you can run into someone 30 seconds later, and then they tick your boxes today, and then a couple of weeks later down the line, boom, they're gone again because they made another mistake, and you're like, you know what, I don't rate that. I don't really like it. We need to stop pretending like we're so perfect. We need to stop pretending like I don't understand it. Like, all of us, we all have so many faults, yet when someone makes a mistake, or when someone doesn't meet your standards, instead of trying to help them, it's like, I'm guilty of that too. I'm being completely honest with you. I'm 100% guilty of that. I do that a lot. And that's a really bad habit of mine. Like, if I hit a roadblock with someone, it will just be in my mind. Like, okay, yeah, I can just leave. But then that is increasing, like, isolation. Like, a lot of people are becoming more and more isolated because of what's happening to us as people. And I don't have an answer. I don't really know what, like, to do. Like I said, I'm also in this boat. I am extremely empty. And I have been like this for such a long time. Yes, I've tried to find meaning, and yes, it's helped me. But this feeling, this ache, it doesn't, I don't think it goes away. I think you can learn to manage it. You can learn to nurture how you feel around it, but I don't actually think it will go. I don't know. The direction of society is a bit strange at the moment, like how we are living. And I made another video about, like, being like trying to be free and isolated. Well, sorry, like the oh, 1 second. What was it called? Yeah, longing for nothingness. Yeah, I also relate to that. Like, I don't know what it is. It just fascinates me how absurdly free you would be in that state of nothingness, but how empty. It's like a dual. What's it called? A double-edged sword. Yeah, like, it's so freeing, and you have nothing holding you down, yet you're just empty and isolated and incredibly lonely. But yeah, if you've related to anything that I've said, or anything resonated, I'd love to know in the comments, and to see how you are and reflecting on your life. I don't know, maybe I'll look back at this video in a couple of years and see where I'm at. It'll be quite interesting because Like I said, I've had this feeling for such a long time. But yeah, take care of yourselves, and peace be with you.